What's up, guys? I'm Chris Spags here, back for another week breaking down the top plays at each position according to the rankings from the top DFS player in the world, Awesemo, in week 7 of Awesemo'S NFL rankings. Last week, you could have built a pretty solid lineup from the picks that we discussed in our week 6 video, so let's keep that same energy here for week 7. And right now, please hit that like button. And if you want to win a free month of Awesemo Plus, like this video and comment the guy I think is going to get 2 touchdowns in week 7. Could be a running back, a wide receiver, or a tight end. But right now, like this video and comment your 2 touchdowns boy down below. As always, Awesemo'S NFL rankings are grades derived by a mix of points and value according to the player's salaries and projections at each site. But let's get it going right now with the quarterbacks. And once again, Matt Ryan is the top dog with a matchup with the Rams in which there are 25.8 implied points for Atlanta. Ryan gets an A in points and an A in value on Draftkings, Fanduel, and Fantasy Draft, while he'll be an A in points and a B in value on Yahoo. The Rams' addition of Jalen Ramsey may make it a little bit tougher on Ryan with Julio Jones in particular, but Ryan attempts 43 passes per game with a defense who constantly puts him behind. So it's hard to jump off the Matt Ryan train, even in a week in which he projects to be super chalk on all the sites. Another QB who grades out well according to Awesemo'S NFL rankings is Kyler Murray in a matchup at the Giants, a game in which there are 23.8 implied points for Arizona. Murray gets an A in points and an A in value on Draftkings, Fanduel, Yahoo, and Fantasy Draft, our first clean sweep of the week. Murray has rushed over 10 times in his last 2 with 39.7 pass attempts per game, and now he faces a Giants defense that allows 285 passing yards per game in a situation that could become a shootout with 2 weak defenses. It's a quote an old stock market phrase, it's time to buy while there's blood in the streets for Jared Goff in a matchup in Atlanta, in which there are 28.8 implied points for the Rams. As I mentioned in last week's video, Goff was a big avoid for me due to the matchup with San Francisco, but in a dome versus an Atlanta defense that gets little pressure and allows opposing QBs a 71.4% completion rate with 8.5 yards per pass, it seems like an ideal get-well spot for Jared Goff. And now let's talk about those top running back plays according to Awesemo'S NFL rankings, and kicking it off once again is Leonard Fournette in a match with Cincinnati, which there are 23.8 implied points for Jacksonville. Fournette gets an A in points and an A in value on Draftkings, Fanduel, and Fantasy Draft, while he'll be an A in points and a B in value on Yahoo. Cincinnati allows 5.3 yards per rush and 184.5 rushing yards per game with a bad 61 run defense grade from PFF. While Fournette has seen at least 26 touches in his last 3 games, he's likely due for both rushing and receiving touchdown positive regression. Another guy who looks good at running back is Dalvin Cook in a matchup at Detroit, in which there are 22.8 implied points for Minnesota. Cook gets a B in points and a B in value on Draftkings, Fanduel, and Fantasy Draft, while he'll be a B in points and an E in value on Yahoo. Dalvin Cook saw 18 touches last week despite a down effort versus Philadelphia's quality run defense, but now he faces a Detroit team who gives up 5.1 yards per rush and 133.8 rushing yards per game, with the benefit of Stephon Diggs' big week 6 likely to keep the defense honest as well. And here's a play if you have an appetite for danger: Joe Mixon in that same matchup against Jacksonville, which there are 19.8 implied points for Cincinnati. Mixon will be a lesser owned option at his price point, and while his 14.7 touches per game are low, he has shown the ability to handle full workload in the past, and he faces a Jacksonville team that gives up 5.2 yards per rush with a 66 run defense grade from PFF. And now let's look at the top wide receivers according to Awesemo'S NFL rankings, and kick it off with Cooper Kupp in that matchup at Atlanta, in which there are again 28.8 implied points for the Rams. Kupp gets a B in points and a B in value on Draftkings and Fantasy Draft, an A in points and a C in value on Fanduel, and an A in points and a D in value on Yahoo. Kupp remains the top targeted Rams receiver by far with 11.5 targets per game, going against an Atlanta defense that allows 271.2 passing yards per game and seems to get worse by the week. Next up, we have Tyler Boyd in that matchup versus Jacksonville, in which there are 19.8 implied points for Cincinnati. Boyd gets a B in points and an A in value on Fantasy Draft, a B in points and a B in value on Draftkings and Fanduel, and a B in points and a C in value on Yahoo. AJ Green is expected to sit once more, and Boyd's price is too low industry-wide given that he has 10 targets and 41 routes per game in Green's absence, and he has a matchup against the Jacksonville secondary that isn't good with a 54 coverage grade from PFF. And this guy at receiver is just too cheap. T.Y. Hilton in a matchup against Houston, in which there are 24 implied points for Indianapolis. Hilton is expected to match up with the extremely poorly graded Jonathan Joseph with a respectable 7.3 targets, including 1.8 red zone targets per game against the Houston defense that allows a 268 passing yards per game. And last but not least, onto the tight ends and defenses, and Darren Waller in a matchup at Green Bay, in which there are 20.5 implied points for Oakland. Looks like he'll be very popular this week. Waller gets an A in points and an A in value on Draftkings and Fantasy Draft, while he'll get an A in points and a B in value on Fanduel and Yahoo. Waller's 8.4 targets per game look as solid as Waller's price point, and he's due for positive touchdown regression with none on the year, but his high ownership may make him more of a cash play than a tournament one. And to quote the great Michael Jordan, the ceiling is the roof for this next tight end play, Evan Engram at Arizona, in a game in which there are 26.8 implied points for the Giants. Engram is priced up for the Arizona tight end spot that's been beneficial to almost every player with a 62% DVOA boost, but there is some risk given that there will be a fully stocked Giants offense that is yet to play together with Evan Engram, Sterling Shepard, Golden Tate, and Saquon Barkley all active. And now onto the defenses in Awesemo'S NFL rankings, and Buffalo's defense versus Miami looks pretty good with just 12 implied points against Buffalo. Buffalo projects well well despite their big price tag against the sky-high 5.7% interception rate and poor 56% completion rate that Ryan Fitzpatrick brings, a pristine matchup for a Buffalo defense that allows just 5.1 yards per pass with a 20.2% pass deflection rate. And if you're looking for a cheaper defense, the Chicago Bears defense versus New Orleans looks good with just 17.5 implied points against Chicago. Teddy Bridgewater has mostly avoided mistakes with a decent 1.3% interception rate and a 6% sack rate, but Chicago will bring the highest pressure rate in the league at 34%, and the run game may not be able to help Bridgewater out, with Chicago allowing just 83 rushing yards per game. So there you have it. That's what we're seeing so far with Awesemo'S NFL rankings for Week 7 in the NFL. So please hit that like button, and if you want to win a free month of Awesemo Plus, like the video and comment your 2 touchdown boy, the wide receiver, tight end, or running back will get 2 touchdowns in Week 7. Comment that guy you think is going to hit down below. Last week, a lot of the more obvious picks were not mentioned in the comments, but one guy did get it right, and it's this guy right here, Sophism, who went there with Terry McLaurin in that great matchup against Miami. So good job, Sophism. Email me at chris@awesemo.com to collect your free month of Awesemo Plus. For everybody else out there, if you want to win your free month, again, like that video and comment your 2 touchdown boy down below. But much like the vintage game genies of the past, you can also use a little cheat code to get yourself that month of Awesemo Plus, and use this promo code SWITCHANDHEDGE for half off your first month of any Awesemo Plus membership. You can also get packages as low as $3.95 a week on there. So go to awesemo.com/join and find a package choice that works for you. Go follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Chris Spags. It's my birthday this weekend, so what better gift can you give me than a little bit of an uptick on the follower count? You can check out all the content I'm doing for Awesemo, my own personal podcast, which comes out tomorrow. So check out what I'm doing on Twitter and Instagram at Chris Spags. As always, thank you guys for watching. The support does mean a bunch, and my birthday wishes for all of you to have a great Week 7 and a great weekend. So I'll see you guys again soon, and good luck.